So when you're in the thick of building a startup, it's so easy to think that it's all about the product, right? But the second you go ask for money, investors are looking at something else just as hard, and that's your team. Specifically, who you hired first. See, they're not just employees, they're a signal. They tell a story about whether you can actually build a real company. And that's really the heart of it all. It's never just about the founder. It's about that tiny early stage team that proves you can attract talent, that you can lead, and that you can build something way bigger than just yourself. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And, it's not about having some huge team. Actually, that can be a big red flag for investors. It's all about having the right team. So, let's dig into the blueprint for a team that gets investors to say yes. Okay, but before we meet the actual hires, you have to get this one thing. Smart investors read your first hires like clues in a mystery. I mean it. Who you bring on board first tells them everything: what you value, how you think, and exactly where you're planning to go next. Think of it this way. These people aren't just support staff. No way. They are the first, most powerful piece of evidence that your vision is so compelling, you can get great people to join you, even when you can't offer a huge salary. They prove you're building a company, not just a weekend project. So how do you send all the right signals? Well, it really comes down to a very specific, strategic trio of hires, a set of 3 roles that become the foundation of a truly fundable company. And here they are: the builder, the operator, and the convincer. You see how together these 3 cover all the essential ground? You've got someone to make the product, someone to create a repeatable process, and someone to connect it all to the real world. Okay, let's dive into this first, absolutely critical hire: the builder. Now, for a technical founder, this might seem like the most obvious hire, but getting it right is actually pretty subtle and incredibly important. The key word here is compliments. Seriously, tattoo it on your brain. The goal isn't to clone yourself, it's to multiply your capabilities so the 2 of you can ship complete features from end to end way, way faster. So look, if you're a backend wizard, the last person you should hire is another backend wizard. You need someone who covers the other side of the stack, like a front-end specialist. It's this strategic pairing that gives a tiny 2-person team unbelievable speed. You've got a great builder when they aren't precious about their code. They're obsessed with iteration, with learning. They actually embrace the ugly prototype because they know it gets you feedback faster. This is the person who takes your cool idea and helps turn it into a real working system that actually has momentum. All right, now for hire number 2, the operator. This is the one so many technical founders skip over, but let me tell you, it is an absolute game changer for your company. Let's be honest, in the beginning, a startup is just chaos. Pure chaos. The operator is the person who bravely walks into that mess and starts creating structure. They build the scaffolding, the workflows, the roadmaps, the processes that lets everyone else actually focus and get stuff done. What this hire really does is professionalize your whole operation. They take on that mountain of non-technical work, everything from customer interviews to sprint planning. And to an investor, this signals that you know how to delegate and that you're building a real company, not just some cool science project. And finally, let's talk about the hire that connects all your hard work to the real world, the convincer. I mean, you've built something, you've organized your process, but the big question is, does anyone actually care? This person's entire job is to break out of the building. They take that early, maybe even clunky product, and they get it into the hands of potential customers. They're not a traditional salesperson, not yet. They're more of a signal finder. They're listening like crazy and translating what they hear into real product insights. And their impact is just massive. They come back with proof of demand long before you have any revenue. They can get you those crucial early letters of intent. And, maybe most importantly, they bring back real user stories that make your pitch to investors 10 times more powerful. Okay, now here's where it all comes together and gets really, really powerful. These 3 distinct roles, they don't just add to what you can do, they multiply it. They work together to create this amazing, self-reinforcing cycle. So it all starts with the product, right? With a complementary builder on your team, your technical output just skyrockets. You're simply able to build and ship more stuff faster. But then, all that raw speed gets amplified by the operator, who makes sure the team is actually working efficiently, turning all that output into a predictable, scalable process. And then, that whole machine gets pointed in the right direction by the convincer. They create that tight feedback loop. making sure that what you're building is what the market actually wants. And that is a flywheel effect in action. See? You're not just working harder, you're working so much smarter. You get a better product, you get real momentum, and you get sharper feedback. And all of that adds up to a company that doesn't just feel promising, it looks undeniably fundable. At the end of the day, this is really the key takeaway. Investors aren't looking for some perfect, polished team on day one. They're looking for thoughtfulness. They want to see that you've been strategic, that you've put the right people in the right roles to take on the challenges ahead. So it's a question you really have to ask yourself. Are you just filling empty seats, or are you strategically building a team that sends all the right signals? A team that's built not just to work, but to win.